Well, welcome in once again to another Saturday night here at the Six Screens. Well, my name's Rick Farron, and I am coming to you from the apostate capital of the world, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. And I'm so glad that you guys can be in here with us because we've got some great programming coming up tonight. Well, there's a lot going on in the Watchtower. Very busy week, and we'll be discussing some things on the news. Boy, summer came in quick, didn't it? I was out the other day, got myself a sunburn. You probably could notice it, but got myself a sunburn out there. I'll tell you, I didn't realize that on the solstice day, which was June 21st. I guess that's the point where the UV rays are very, very high, maybe the highest all year. So I was out doing some work, and my goodness, I came in, I was like a lobster. But it's okay. It's going fine, and it's good to get a little sun. That's vitamin D, they say. So that worked out well. But I hope you're fine. I hope things are going well for you wherever you are. And aren't you glad to see the summer coming in? Boy, it is a lot easier. I know it's very, very hot in some parts of the nation. It really is. And boy, that's difficult to deal with extreme heat like that. So stay safe and stay cool, as they say. So we're talking about things here tonight that I think we should deserve to talk about. On our news tonight, we're going to be talking about the 2023 Exercise Patients Convention. Oh my goodness, what a convention this is turning out to be. We're going to talk about that. As a matter of fact, in about another half hour or so, we have Dan Clark will be coming on and his wife Angela, and they went to the convention out in Idaho last week. And so they're going to come on tonight and talk about their adventure going to the convention. And they took some video and pictures. So we'll be sharing those with you tonight. So we're looking forward to that. And also around 8:30 tonight, we have a man named Dr. Richmond, and he got a hold of me this week. And Dr. Richmond told me that he went to his wife's funeral. She was a Jehovah's Witness. He wasn't. He became apostate, but he went to his wife's funeral. And wait till you hear how they treated him at the funeral. He's coming on at 8:30 to tell us all about that. So we're looking forward to it. So let's get right in and see what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Well, one thing I do want to say is there's got to be a whole lot of people leaving the Watchtower as of late. Can you imagine what it would be like being an elder and all of the letters of disassociation, all of the people that are being charged with apostasy? I would be willing to say this is the largest amount of apostates the Watchtower ever had to deal with. People are coming out of the Watchtower. I can't believe it. I see them coming on this particular platform. I see them going on all the YouTube platforms, the forums online. It's amazing what's going on with the people leaving. I've never seen it like this. I've been doing this program for 17 years, folks, and I have to tell you, my eyes are wide open. My ears are wide open. We are hearing and seeing things we have never seen before. This is just getting to the point that I don't know how much longer the Watchtower can even survive. I really, really don't. You can't hemorrhage like they're hemorrhaging. If you were a business selling cars, selling pastry, whatever you be selling, and you were getting such a bad reputation, your business would be in the toilet. And that's where Watchtower is right now. Their business basically is in the toilet. They're losing so many people that I'm thinking of all the letters that the elders must be getting on disassociation. And there was a letter online. I'm going to read parts of it to you. I found it really, really fascinating. And I can just imagine the elders, the Watchtowers getting inundated. It's being explained to the Watchtower and the elders that there's many people that do not want to be Jehovah's Witnesses anymore. And you know what's really causing them to go to the exit door? The big factor really has to do with child sex abuse and covering it up. That's a crime, folks. And the Watchtower should be ashamed of themselves. But you know something? They're paying for it in their pocketbook. People leaving, donations have got to be way, way down. So we're going to talk a little bit later too with Dan and Angela, like I said, about the convention. These are nothing more than big fundraisers, and I'm sure the donations are way, way down. But I wanted to. I came across this on a forum online. It really caught my attention. It was a young man, actually over in the United Kingdom, and he wrote that himself and his wife, who are both unbaptized publishers, they faded during COVID, and they have been mostly left alone with the elders sending him a message here or this, here or there, every few weeks to come on back and catch up with us. So we haven't been wanting. They say they have been wanting to disassociate for a while, but have always been being shunned. They know what comes with that. You're going to have friends and relatives distance from you. So that kind of bothered them, and they held off. But they now say we have had enough. That is the wife and the husband. So they're still in their mid 20s, and they have a whole lot of friends who are witnesses, but also they have worldly. The term worldly people that aren't Jehovah's Witnesses are their friends, and not being baptized, they're hoping that they're not going to get the shunning treatment that a baptized person would get. But I have to tell them they will. They will get it. Whether you're unbaptized or whether you are baptized, it's the same punishment. You're going to get zapped. But take a listen now. This is a draft letter. He's not completely done writing it, but I like some of the content of his letter. I'll just read it quickly to you here. He says, I am writing to request you. He's writing to the elders in his congregation. I am writing to request that you remove myself and my wife from your records as members of the Jehovah's Witness organization. We have come to the decision that we can no longer be associated with the Watchtower Corporation due to their history of child sexual abuse and lack of reform and repentance, blatant lying in court on multiple occasions, including one of your ruling council members, Jeffrey Jackson, and their abusive, loveless, and humiliating punishments to people they deem unrepentant, amongst many other reasons that have opened our eyes over the last few years. Friends, how many eyes are opening up? How many people are seeing the corruption, the fraud, and the watch? It's got to be many people seeing this. And then the man goes on, he says, we are deeply troubled by the actions of the Watchtower Corporation and the harm they have caused to so many. We can no longer, in good conscience, be associated with an organization that does not uphold the values of agape love and compassion as falsely advertised, and who puts the possibility of bringing reproach upon Jehovah's name before the protection of children. I like the way this man's writing. He's getting to the point. He's narrowing it down. Can you imagine the stuff, the letters that the elders must be reading as of late? This guy's he's good. So he says, I spoke with a member of the body of elders a couple of years ago when I first started having doubts. Now, I had, started having doubts a couple of years ago. I'm sure there's a lot of PMOs even right now that they're ready to exit, but not quite ready. But he says he spoke with one of the body of elders, and he asked the elder about the Australia Royal Commission into an institutional response to child sex abuse. And he gave the illustration of, if my child was molested by my best friend, an elder, would that be the responsibility of the organization? So this tripped me up at the time because he didn't read enough about the Australia Royal Commission. So that's this is a comeback I'm sure the Watchtower is using. So you go and you say, gee, there's a person in the congregation that's raping my son or my daughter. So they're going to come back and say something to the effect of, well, we can't watch everything. Is it our responsibility? Well, they can come across with an argument, but would it really hold up? So the brother who is disassociating himself, he says, my response to that now would be, I would not. It would not be the responsibility of a Jehovah's Witness. You're absolutely right. However, here's an illustration for you. If your best friend and elder molested your child and went forward and reported it to the elders, but they didn't report it to the police, they even ask you not to report it because it's now a spiritual matter. They then kept the pedophile in the congregation but removed his privileges. They didn't make the congregation aware of the pedophile among them, and the scumbag does it again to some other child in the organization. So a child who is not a Jehovah's Witness, because the police are unaware of it, so this vile human is not a registered sex offender, are locked up. It's then the responsibility of the organization. In other words, what he's saying here, I'll cut to the chase. Well, what he's saying here is, look at, wouldn't you feel it's your duty too, if you know of a person in the congregation that's raping little children? Don't you think that other little children would also be affected? So, yes, if the congregation, as he's saying here, hears about a pedophile in the congregation, report it and at least go to the police. But they don't, I mean, we could talk about this all night. They don't believe it. So, we believe, this is what he says in his letter, we believe it's the right thing to do, as we no longer wish to tarnish our name by being associated as Jehovah's Witnesses. That is a classic letter, classic sentence right there. I love this. I love this sentence. We believe it is the right thing to do, as we no longer wish to tarnish our name by being associated as Jehovah's Witnesses. Yes, never mind bringing reproach upon Jehovah. How about bringing reproach upon yourself because you want to remain in a criminal, fraudulent, perverted organization? So, I like it. I like it. And I'm glad to see people coming out of the woodwork and saying, enough is enough is enough. Boy, what you think of that? What you think of that letter? I think it was well done. Now, don't you think that these letters are being sent to the Watchtower and elders every day? Some congregations are probably getting 2, 3, 4 letters a day. And there's family members too that are leaving. So this is wonderful. I'm so happy to see so many Jehovah's Witnesses saying enough is enough. But I love that. In other words, this young brother and his wife felt that their name was going to be tarnished if they continued association with the Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, good for him. They're always saying, well, don't say anything. Don't bring reproach upon Jehovah. Well, what about bringing reproach upon your name? What about bringing reproach upon your name? I love it. Oh, I'm so happy to see all these good things happen. It always wasn't like this. It always wasn't like this. I mean, there were times when we started 17 years ago. We didn't have much news to talk about. I couldn't get too excited, but I get very excited now. I'm very excited to see so many people leaving the Watchtower. And I also, it's not just the 6 screens. We have many allies out there that are also doing their job. Mike and Kimmy, Cedars, and we have the Critical Thinkers, and so many other people out there doing their things, the Reddit forum, the JWN forum, all of us working together. Sometimes there's some friction between the allies here, but we should overlook that. We're all brothers fighting against the Watchtower. I don't care if you're Christian or not a Christian. We're all fighting to expose this tyrannical, controlling group. And I think it's wonderful because something, it's all working. All of us working collaboratively together are making a big difference in getting people out of the Watchtower. But it even goes further than that. You know who else is our allies? And I keep talking about this for the last few weeks. The governments are our allies. They're looking into this aberrant group. They're looking into how evil the Watchtower is. Well, countries like Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Yeah, these countries. We have Russia. Of course, we know what the Russians think of the witnesses. And we have Belgium, and we have a number of other countries. Japan right now. Japan is coming down on the witnesses. So the world is catching up on this evil religion. Boy, I'll tell you what, I feel like doing a happy dance in the parking lot. It does. It makes me very, very happy to see all of this happen. And I know it's making you happy. Well, you say, well, Rick, do you find glee in an organization going down the drain? The answer to that is yes, I do. Now, if it was if they were being accused of something they didn't do, if they could come up with some things they do to help people, I might have a listening ear toward that. But I never see the Watchtower helping anybody. So I'm glad to see this slimy organization creep back into the swamp where it became and where it came from. So that's a good thing, isn't it? To see that all happening, and they deserve it. And it's not glee, it's vindication. I feel vindicated that we are seeing an organization that has hurt so many people now being tarnished, now being shown to the world how terrible they are. So, I'm going to tell you, it's going to be very hard to get people to become Jehovah's Witnesses these days. I mean, good luck with that one. They know who you are. Well, that's my thoughts. If anyone has any thoughts and would like to bring their thoughts forward, we'd love to hear what you have to say. Go ahead, hit *6 on your telephone pad. Come on, say hello to us. You're on with us. Yep.
Hey, Rick.
Yes. Yes.
You know what you were talking about? If somebody in the congregation is a child molester,
Yes.
that they should tell the other members in the congregation. This actually happened with me and my son. There was a quote unquote brother. He had been with fellowships, but I didn't know what for. But when he was reinstated, he started, taking my son on the weekends, because my father, his father never had anything to do with him. But anyway, he was taking him. No clue that he was just released from prison after 13 years. And nobody made me aware of it. And then later on, I did have an opportunity to speak to my son. And it turned out there was more than one brother that had molested him when he was little. So anyway, I should have made me aware, though, when he was 7 or 8 years old. I would have never let a child molester take my son, out on the weekends to play games and stuff, because I wondered what all kind of games he really played, and my son wouldn't tell me back then. Anyway, I just wanted to make that thought.
Well, very good, Debbie. No, I'm glad you caught that, because, if you were aware of these things could have been different for you today. Well, thank you very much, Debbie, for bringing that to our attention. Well, you're on JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about. Looks like we got 304. Looks like Kurt Hatfield. Come on in, Kurt.
Yeah, Rick, that letter that you read was excellent, the way that it was written. And just a quick comment, I still cannot believe that the Watchtower has not made a change in the way they deal with pedophiles. I just cannot believe it. Just the money aspect of it alone has been so harsh for the Watchtower. But anyway, like I say, in my mind, I just cannot believe that they still deal with pedophiles the way that they do. But anyway, that was a really good letter, and thank you for reading it, and thank you for taking my call.
Well, you're very welcome, Kurt. No, these letters are good. I'm sure the elders are getting tons of them being sent to them. So yeah, that's all happening. Hey, did you guys see this on the all across the internet? There's a cult in Africa. It's called the Kenya cult. And I don't know if you read it on the internet or not, but I'll tell you a little bit about it. Right now, as of right now, the death toll from this Kenya cult is surpassing 300 people, and they're digging up more bodies that have died. So I'll read you the story out of the newspaper right from Kenya. Nairobi, Kenya. The number of people who died after a Kenyan pastor ordered his followers to starve to death in order to meet Jesus has surpassed 300, authorities said. And the death toll is expected to rise as more exhumations they're planned, and they're bringing people up. They buried all these dead people. So when they're taking them up from the grave, there's hundreds of them. The death toll increased 303 after 19 more bodies were recovered from mass graves. So we got a real problem. We got a cult going on, but it appears to be a religious cult where they starved to death in order to meet Jesus. You know, when I read stuff like this, I really, the hair turns up on the back of my head. And because, religious cults are the most dangerous. So this pastor evidently had people thinking they were in the truth, just like you know who. And it got people to do things they normally wouldn't do. So now we're going to have hundreds of people dead in this cult. As a matter of fact, a local journalist thinking that right now there's 613 people missing. So if they already found the 300 and something, 303, so that's going to bring it up to 313, 323 would it be, somewhere around there. So that's going to, we're getting close now to the Jim Jones massacre. I think it was 900 and something that died out there. So this might be one of the worst death cults ever if this continues to go on like it is, finding all these dead people. So, this guy Mackenzie, that's the pastor's name. He had dozens of people and hundreds of people really that were part of his church. And he told them that by starving themselves to death, by not eating, this is the way they would meet Jesus. Now, I know, I'm going to make a statement here, but don't take it to the bank and cash it. Yeah, look I don't know if the witnesses could ever become this dangerous, but I know the end time for cults never end with a happy ending. And when a cult gets put in the corner, very much like a bloody rat that hopped out of his, trap, and he's in the corner and you're trying to corner him, he's ready to get you. It's the same way the Watchtower is right now. I don't know if they'll ever get to the point of a mass suicide. I can't. Nobody knows that, right? Nobody knows it. But all I know is there's one thing that continually bothers me about the Watchtower said, at least in 4 articles in their Watchtower magazine since 2013. This is the one thing that keeps me up at night. Even though what is coming forth from our governing body may not sound logical from a human standpoint, just go along with it. That's the phrase right there that bothers me. But maybe I'm reading more into it. But this Mackenzie, Pastor Mackenzie, well, he's expected to be back in court. Looks like he's going to be charged with a number of deaths. And they're actually considering Pastor Mackenzie to be a terrorist. Now, wasn't that something? Because, what caught my attention here with Pastor Mackenzie and calling him a terrorist? This is exactly what Vladimir Putin referred to the Jehovah's Witnesses as terrorist, and not just regular terrorist. The Russian government labeled Jehovah's Witnesses as extreme terrorist. Just a little side point. I'm sure Russia has gone overboard with this. But see, the African government here in Kenya is looking at Pastor Mackenzie as being a terrorist. Why would they do that? Why do you think a pastor, or even in Russia, why they call the witnesses terrorist? Well, I know why they did it in Russia. because terrorists are very evil. Terrorists deliberately cause destruction, mayhem, break families up, kill people. Doesn't the Watchtower do that? Now you're probably saying, come on, Rick, that's too much. Well, the Watchtower does that. Why do you think Putin and the Russian government put the label of extreme terrorist on them? Because that's what they are. Now, I know you're going to disagree, but that's okay if you do. That's okay if you do, but that's the way that I feel about it. I feel that the Watchtower could be considered a terrorist organization. I know they don't have machine guns and ready to shoot people, but they shoot you spiritually. They destroy you without using guns. They use techniques that I'm sure the highest government officials are aware of, and they probably use it in their military forces as well. So, well, let's see. Let's bring on 508. 508, what do you have to say?
It's Cherry. I was watching a deal. It's been probably about 6 months ago, and this is an appropriate time to say it. It was actually a talk from the Witnesses Now from for Jesus convention. I don't know what year, but he has his own YouTube channel, and he did the same thing with the Adventists. But he gave a story or a history of all the history when it started and all the little different offshoots. Well, he did the same thing with Seventh-day Adventists on the Ellen White side. You had the Russellites or the International Bible Students after William Miller, and then you had Mary Ellen White and the Seventh-day Adventists. Well, one of those schisms that went off the Seventh-day Adventists way back then, it transformed itself after about 100 years, and 2 or 3 people got it, and it was transformed from a schism from the Seventh-day Adventists to the dude in Waco. All right, it started out as an offshoot of Seventh-day Adventists, and then by the time at the end of it, we all know what happened in Waco. It transformed itself into that what happened in Waco. So it can happen. It can go there. It can change hands, and then it can get more extreme.
Thank you for bringing that up, Chewy. I happened to be there at that Witness Now for Jesus convention when that man gave that talk. And that's exactly right. He showed like a family tree and all of the different aberrant and strange Christian groups who were on that tree, including the Branch Davidians, the Christadelphians, the Rosicrucians. They all came, the B'nai B'rith, they all came from the same spiritual tree. And none of them are correct or never were correct. But some of these groups land up in a very difficult strait for the end times. And that's what I'm thinking with the Witnesses. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but the Witnesses, they will just follow everything to the T. And you get some radical governing body member that comes in, sees the whole thing falling apart, and he's got to turn this thing around or it's going to be toast. You never know what they would do. Well, thank you very much, Joey, for bringing that to our attention. Well, let's take a look. Let's see what else is going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Would you lend money to the Watchtower? Would you lend money to the Watchtower? And I know we brought this up on the 6 Screens years ago, but there's a way that people can lend money to the Watchtower organization, and it's an acronym. It's CDTA. And it stands for Conditional Donation Trust Arrangement. Now, if you're wanting to lend money to the Watchtower, suppose you just got an insurance settlement or maybe an inheritance or maybe even secretly won the lotto and you got some extra dough and you say, gee, I don't want to, just give it to the Watchtower. I'll lend them the money through this Watchtower CDTA program. Yeah, Conditional Donation Trust Arrangement. In other words, on the surface, what Watchtower says is, well, you can lend us the money, and then if you ever need it back, we'll give it back to you. Would you trust the Watchtower to give the money back to you? I wouldn't. Now, I'll tell you what, this conditional donation arrangement has created some issues for many people who have given them money. It's a conditional donation. It's based on the fact if you ever want your money back, you can get it. And many Jehovah's Witnesses are not getting their money back. There's always some string or something attached. So a Jehovah's Witness lends money to the Watchtower, and they technically can request it back at some point in the future. Likely there's conditions that one would have to follow. But anyways, I got some information coming in here to the 6 screens. It gives me a little more insight on what's happening here. There was one man that gave me some information that says that his mother tried to, she wanted to lend the Watchtower some money on this conditional basis. In other words, she didn't want to give it to them, but where they're crying for money so much, she probably thought they wanted some and could use some. So like anyone, if I got a few extra bucks, I'll lend it to them. But if I'm going to want it back someday, please give it back. So anyway, she called up the branch office. It was here in America. And she called the branch office and she said that she'd like to give a donation, a conditional donation. And so they said, well, there's a minimum. And she said, oh, there is? She said, I didn't realize there's a minimum. I mean, here they are going to get money from people. They're giving them no interest. And they're even going to make it a minimum. They don't want you lousy $200 or $300. They want $5,000. That's what they want. That's the minimum amount of money you can give the Watchtower in this conditional donation. So, I mean, the Watchtower, you know, I'm going to tell you something. These guys they are slick. They know how to make money all the way around. But let's take a look here. And there's something here that I found very fascinating. And it really got me thinking how terrible the Watchtower is. There is actually this conditional arrangement. A man gave me some information that his mother years ago set up a loan to the Watchtower on this conditional basis. And she would mention to her Jehovah's Witness son that when she passed away, that he could call the Watchtower and get the money back for his inheritance. So, well, the mother passed away, and you guessed it, he got a hold of the Watchtower, but they aren't going to give him his money back. He wanted it back, and they wouldn't give it to him, and his lawyer said that the money is in another country, and the Watchtower won't let it out. Now, can you imagine that? This is supposed to be God's Christian organization. That money's gone. Forget about it. So, isn't that disgusting? So don't dare lend the Watchtower money. So, in essence, they basically stole the mother's money, and it was his inheritance. How would you feel if your mother left you money? In other words, she said, it's the Watchtower has it, but when I die, son, you can get it back from them. So here's the poor guy trying to get the money back. Chicago, Illinois, you're on with us. What's up? Chicago, Illinois, 312, area code. You're on with us. Go ahead. You're on. Go ahead. Just speak up. We can hear you. You're unmuted. All right. I guess he doesn't want to speak up. One more chance. You're unmuted, so speak up. All right. Well, let's see what happens. So here we have, sir. I'm gonna tell you. You keep ringing you're unmuted. All you have to do is talk. 312. If not, I'm gonna have to shut you down here because your phone's dinging and making a lot of noise in here. You're on with us. 312. Say hello. Speak into your mic. All right. Let that go for now. Maybe he'll come on later. But, you know, that's terrible. I don't know if that ever happened to anybody. I don't know if anybody out there ever had that problem. So they basically have two different types of donations. I mean, you can call the Watchtower and you can say, look, I want to give you a conditional donation. Or you can say, I'm just going to give you a flat right out donation. But, you know, I'm going to tell you that they have an office. Now, I've called the Watchtower many times, and you've heard some of the YouTube videos where people call the Watchtower. And sometimes, I mean, I'd wait on the phone a good part of a half hour just to talk to somebody about something. But if you call the donation desk, oh, my goodness, they pick that phone right up. You don't wait for a second. And then the people on the donation desk, they are trained to kind of talk you out of a conditional donation. So, you got $10,000. You just sold your house. You made a killing. You say, I'll lend. I know the Watchtower needs the money right now, for crying out loud. Stephen Let's talking about how we need millions a month. I'm willing to lend him 10 grand. So you call the donation desk and you talk to someone there that's been trained to talk you out of a conditional donation into a regular donation, what they call a direct donation. So you call up and you say, brother, I have some money. I'd like to get into an arrangement of a conditional donation. Well, brother, Jehovah really appreciates what you're saying, and he loves people that can really help his organization out. Now, do you feel that this really should be conditional? Do you have a lot of love for Jehovah in your heart? And they'll try to talk you out of the out of the donation, and a conditional donation. They want you to have a direct donation. They just want to take the money and run. But if they can't get you to change it from conditional to direct, I mean, they'll take it, but they know darn well that they're going to tie that money up. It's going to be a lot of paperwork to get that money back. And I mean, good luck with that. So, there's so many things here that just continually irks me, and I'm sure it irks you, on what the Watchtower does to squeeze money out of people. So, I also got information from a man that in the locale where he was, it was a rural area, and all the poor brothers and sisters, they spent so much money. They saved it all up, and for years they put enough money together to build a new Kingdom Hall. And sure enough, they built the new Kingdom Hall, and was a short while later, a few years later, all of a sudden they want to sell the Kingdom Hall off that was just built. And they want to bring two congregations together and make one. And they sell that Kingdom Hall off. See, these are scams we've been talking about, but they get away with it. These guys are raking in dough left and right, and they do absolutely nothing at all to help the Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, we've read so many accounts on here in the past of Jehovah's Witnesses struggling to be able to just keep their head above water. And consequently, the Watchtower is making people more poor. But they are $1 billion corporation. Now, I just want you to think about something. Let's think of about a multi-billion-dollar person today. Let's talk about Elon Musk. You know who Elon Musk is? Well, I think you do. He runs Twitter. He runs Tesla. He owns it, and also SpaceX company. He's about one of the richest men, if not the richest man in the world. He's a billionaire. So would you expect Elon Musk appealing for a loan or asking for donations? What would you think? A rich person doesn't need help from others, but rather what they should be doing, it should be the other way around. The billionaire or the billionaire corporation, as we know the Watchtower, they should be helping other people, which is in fact what, some of these billionaires do, but the Watchtower doesn't. And it's so disappointing when you read these scams on how Watchtower's taken money in, and tons and millions and billions of dollars, but those conditional loan arrangements never get paid back. What did you want to say, sir? 347, that's you? What do you want to say?
Juan, you hear me?
Go ahead, you're on, yep.
Okay, I wouldn't give him a wooden nickel.
I don't blame you. I mean, you agree with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
The Watchtower was just run by a bunch of scam artists.
Well, they
bunch of con men.
Well, they probably scammed you. They scammed me. I mean, they scam everybody,
No, they haven't scammed me.
You weren't
They
fooled?
were never able to scam me because, I beg your pardon?
I mean, you're onto their tricks, were you?
Well, I never really donated. I didn't do too much use of it. I was in it for many years, but I wasn't a very good witness. There was just things that turned me off. brothers talking about brothers, the shunning. I remember one time there was a brother. He was in fellowship. I came up to him and I talked to him, and he told me not to talk to him because he was in fellowship. If I continued to talk to him, that I will be this fellowship. And I said, why am I going to get this fellowship if I haven't done anything? Couldn't understand that. It was just, I had a lot of red flags. And I never did trust too many of them. I didn't share too much of my private life with the brothers and the sisters. I kept them at a distance. I went on few shares with them, but I kept them at a distance.
Well, how long were you a Jehovah's Witness?
That's what I'm saying. When I was a Jehovah's Witness, I knew that there was just a great many people that couldn't be trusted. I mean, I was only like 25 years, but there's only maybe one or two people or people that I really trusted. And I just didn't share, like talk too much about myself. I showed up to the Kingdom Hall. I did the book study. I went on a few service when I wanted to go on a few service. I wasn't, I still became a victim anyway because I lost some of my family and they weren't even Jehovah's Witnesses. Which is crazy. I mean, how does a person get to lose his family and they're not witnesses?
Well, I mean, there's so many questions that could be asked about that. It's just amazing to me. So what brought you in here tonight? You've spoken up here before, haven't you? I think I heard you before on here.
Yes, I have. Yes,
Yeah.
I have. And I'm going to tell you what woke me up. It was the Australian Royal Commission.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I have a son. I have a 35-year-old son who was separated from at birth. His mom moved on. I never know where she went. I didn't know too much about his life. And then one day, I get a phone call, and I find out that he had been looking for me all these years. And we finally met. When we finally met, I discovered that he had a daughter. And I was happy to finally meet him and to meet my granddaughter for the first time. Now, my granddaughter's mother was abused by her father. So she started looking into the Jehovah's Witnesses, and she found out about the child molestation, but she never brought it up to me. She never told me about it. So suddenly, I find myself cut off from my son and my granddaughter. And I want to know what the hell is going on. I just met them, and now I'm being cut off. I'm being ghosted. I'm being shunned. So I looked into the Jehovah's Witness, and I typed into Google Jehovah's Witness scandals. And the Australian Royal Commission came up. And that's how I knew. That's when I knew that the reason why they cut me off from my granddaughter, because they found out a pedophilia, and they figured, hey, I might be one. They don't know me. They just met me. But when they found out that existed in my religion, they cut me off. To this day, I haven't been able to see my granddaughter. So this is how they affected me, because nobody in my family is a Jehovah's Witness. Nobody in my family is a Jehovah's Witness. But my granddaughter's mother was molested by her father. And when she looked up to Jehovah's Witnesses, she found out about the molestations. She cut me off.
Well, I'm sad to hear that. But that's the organization that I hear that story over and over again. It's terrible, terrible. But, geez, I wish you the best. I hope your life can move in the right direction. I hope all good things can happen with you and your witness friends. Hope that can all get cleared up for you. Well, thank you, Juan, for coming in. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Don't be a stranger. You come back and see us again, okay?
I won't.
Okay, good. Thank you. Well, that's where we go. We got a lot of people listening in here tonight, and we're coming to you from Boston, Massachusetts, and we call it the apostate capital of the world. And we're going to be switching gears here, and we're going to be going to talk about the 2023 regional convention. Got some comments to talk about that. Dan and Angela Clark are going to come on. I just sent them a link. I should have done a little earlier, but if they look in their email, they will find a link, and if they hit that link, that'll bring them right on. We'll get them on video. But if not, if they just want to call in, they can do whatever they want. But we'll talk a little bit about that convention. We'll bring them in as soon as I seize them. But you know what I'm finding out? These regional conventions, of course, they're calling it the Be Patient convention. Want to be as patient as you possibly can. I mean, that's all you hear at the convention. But the reason why I even wanted to bring this idea up tonight is the fact that we have got a term here, regional convention, that most of us who went to regional conventions in the past are pretty much aware of. They were regional conventions. They were big. Before they used to call them district conventions. But that's not the case today. They're like assemblies. They're like having an assembly, but they're calling them conventions. So this seems to be a model, a new model that the Watchtower is working with, and they're having like smaller gatherings. They somehow have played with the circuits and the districts, and they're having mini conventions. And I know the reason for it is so it doesn't look like they're missing a lot of people. But even these mini conventions have so many empty seats. So that's what's going on. They're calling them regional conventions, but they're really assemblies. And, the Watchtower for years has always played with territories, switching them around, moving congregations to one circuit to another. This was all, now you look back on the trail, you can see why they did it. You pick these crumbs up on the trail, you can see they were doing it to keep a flow of people. So it'll always look good when you went there. So they're playing these games. And we are seeing, at least the information coming into the 6 screens, that these conventions are not bringing the people in like they have been doing. We've been talking about the last few weeks, and they're really low attendance. In fact, in most cases, and I got a whole lot of information coming from different people all around the country, it's like 20, 30%, some even more missing that aren't there. What's going on? What is going along? I mean, when you stop and think about it, the old conventions that we used to go to, well, they were bad enough to leave some emotional scars. I mean, do you have emotional scars from some of these conventions that you went to? Well, I kind of do. But these new conventions is even worse. I mean, they're telling you how to shun your mother. They're telling you to stay away from anyone that isn't loyal to Jehovah. They're coming up with all kinds of things. They have these bunker videos. They have, at this convention, they play a video of a family in Africa. And the witnesses were told to move out of that area because the military was going to take it over. And some of the witnesses didn't want to move, but they prayed to Jehovah and they moved, and the militants came in. But they all went to a refugee camp and were saved. I mean, it's this type stuff. This is going to leave emotional scars on many people who are going to the conventions these days. Seriously. So, I want to bring that up. And, another thing, too, in some countries, if you can get a load out of this, I remember when they stopped serving lunch and you had to bring your own lunch. I mean, that made it very difficult, didn't it, brothers and sisters? And then you'd have to make your lunch in the hotel room or carry it with you in a cooler. And, even in some cities, I couldn't believe this, but somebody gave me some information today that you had to bring your own lunch, which is understandable. So you make a sandwich and you go, no big deal. But also they wanted you to take the rubbish home. Any mess that you had, paper bags or wax paper or any leftover food, they did not want you to throw it in the dumpster. They wanted you to take it home. How cheap can you get? Why just not order a big dumpster and everyone can just throw their onion sandwiches and everything else in there without making a big fuss about it? But no, not the witnesses, man. They're going to squeeze you for every penny they possibly can. So, but I'm waiting for Dan and Andrew. I'm really anxious to see how they saw their convention in Idaho last week. I'm really interested to see how they handled it. I know they sent me some information I found somewhat fascinating. Chewy, what's up, Chewy?
Well, that's I watched that video where they had their feet on the ground. That's a very good video. Very good. Everybody needs to go out and shout out to that video. There's two of them. One of them, they really talk about the convention, but they show pictures of it. But it's a really good video. Everybody needs to go watch that.
Yeah, in fact, we're going to get them on, and we'll play some clips from it. Okay, who else would like to speak up? You're on with us. Go ahead.
Hi, Rick.
Hello, Randy.
Yeah, I just want to let you know that I survived. I mean, it's even scarier than the worst airplane crash you could think of, but it wasn't an airplane crash. Yesterday, I attended the regional convention, Exercise Patience Convention.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. So what were your findings?
Well, I was going to go last week. They had them 2 weeks in a row in Amarillo, last week and this weekend. And last weekend, several things stressed me out. We had some storms coming from that direction that was going to, hit my area here in Oklahoma. Actually, it did hit out there near Amarillo at Perrington, and it killed a lot of people. And actually, this week it also hit not far from Amarillo, another little town, killed a lot of people. But I was very stressed about leaving my daughters in Oklahoma last week, and I was also, to be truthful, I was stressed about even going, the kind of reception I might get, not just from my daughter, but also from other people that's there. I wasn't going to go there to protest. I was just going to go there peacefully, maybe to see my daughter and my grandchildren from afar. And so I was still so stressed about that I just didn't go last weekend. So yesterday I went, and I was stressed then too, but I got to tell you, I was treated so kind by everybody, even the brothers with the red lanyards. How do you say that? The little thing holding their. Am I pronouncing it right? Lanyards?
Yeah, lanyards. Yeah, that's like a little necklace type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the attendants, the security, they all had bright red ones on, and anyway, they were all super nice to me, very kind. I thought they was gonna, do like that Pimo man that talked last week, how they interrogated him and everything, because they'd come up to me and I thought, oh, here it goes. And so I was getting braced, and all they wanted to tell me is, watch your step, brother. The concrete's uneven right here. The concrete's rising up, and they had red cones there. So, I mean, it was now, in all fairness, though, I did have a badge on. I did have a suit on. Because I didn't want to do anything to trigger anything. So, everywhere I was at, matter of fact, I sat right behind the attendant. We visited for a long time, and here's one thing I remember. They gave a talk. They said, look to your right, look to your brothers to your left, look in front of you. Now, I'm going to ask you to do something that's going to take some effort. Turn around in your seat and look at the ones behind you. And so I did. And then the brothers, they said, well, that means you're going to have to, those are the people that better get to know them, because they're going to be the ones that's going to help you out when you're down alone with them in the bunkers, And that was kind of surprising to hear him say that. But then guess what? The brother behind me patted me on my back. So that felt good. So I just passed it on, patted the attendant brother in front of me.
Wow.
And they said something different too. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff. I don't want to take your whole show up, but this was kind of interesting. That in Amarillo, they did something different than I've never seen in Oklahoma. Because in Oklahoma, we only have concrete around our conventions, but there they have a nice grassy area and trees outside. And it's been I think they said 4 years since they've had one. So, but the last time they'd done it, they'd went out there and at break time, they would spread a blanket out, and they would get under a tree in the shade, and they just have a nice picnic out there on their lunch break and socialize there. But when they made the announcement, they didn't say you could do that. They said, we don't want you leaving. We don't want you leaving the auditorium. We want you just to sit here in your seats where you're at and eat there. And I thought, well, have they changed it? So I went and asked one attendant. He was just a young guy out there where the grassy area was. He didn't know. He thought it'd be okay, but he didn't know. So I said, well, I guess it's like they say, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than for permission. And he said, yeah. So I'm walking back in, and an older attendant seen me talking to the young one. He walked over. Is there anything wrong? And no, I'm fine. I'm fine. And then I thought, well, I better not cause a scene. So I went back and told him what I was talking to the younger one about. And he says, oh, I guess we can always do it like we've done before out there. And I said, well, that's not what they said from the platform. I said, I realize you're out here and you're not hearing it. He shows me his earbud hanging down by his belt. He said, well, I try to listen as much as I can, but I must have missed that part, he said. So he got on his radio and asked them, and they said, well, we'll be there in a minute. And he told me, he said, brother, they'll be here in a minute. I said, well, you know what? That brother that comes here, whatever his opinion is, he might tell you one thing, and I'll just wait at lunchtime and see what the opinion of the thousands of people that's here, what they're going to go out there and do. So I left. Guess what? They all went out there and ate a picnic on the grass. You know, and I walked around later. That brother told me, he said, "Yeah, that you can eat now, as you can see that." I said, "Yeah." I said, as you know, one thing that's constant about the organization, and that's change. It's always changing.
Well, that's interesting though, Randy. They treated you nicely. This is unlike we had a man come on. JP came on last 2 weeks ago, and he went to the convention out of Long Beach, and he said, boy, he was treated like the third monkey on Noah's Ark. You know.
Yeah. Well, they treated me, and I don't know, it could be different localities. I have no idea, but they treated me very nice. You know, I mean, it'd be nice. And the information, most of the stuff they said, I mean, it was kind of enjoyable to watch it. You know, I wish they would just practice, you know, like being patient and long-suffering toward other people and not holding things against them. I wish they'd do that toward the ones they're shunning right now, you know, show a little love there. But, you know, you just think that, I didn't say anything that's controversy. You talk about toting a big ice chest around. This one couple of sisters, they was trying to go down some stairs with a great big humongous one. And I told them, I said, I remember back a circuit overseer told us he loved, when that first happened, he loved to go around and look for the sisters with a large chest. Because that's really, I mean, I didn't tell him. That's what he said. Later, after he said that 4 or 5 times, somebody must have corrected him, because then he made it really clear, and he emphasized, I look for them with the large coolers, the ice coolers, you know.
Well, no, let me.
Hey, Randy?
Yeah, go ahead,
Yes.
Randy.
No, this is Jerry. Hey, percentage-wise, what would you say the attendance was, percentage-wise, filling the stadium? 50%, 60%?
Well, you know, it's kind of like Rick might have been saying, that the way they've spread them out. Now, before we even left, I remember they started making the convention smaller. They started breaking them up and having 2 instead of 1. You know, like in Oklahoma City, they'd have 2 there.
Right.
One up in Tulsa, you know, or 2 in Tulsa, or 1 in Tulsa, 1 up on the city. So they've been doing that for a while. I will tell you this: there was, it didn't look empty like the pictures I've seen people show. Here's what it looked like. It was pretty much filled. I mean, there would be empty seats here and there over in the middle if you wanted to go trying to find something in the middle. You could walk around and find it, but you know, they had the stage at one end. If you can imagine like a football field or whatever, and at one end of it, that's where they had the stage with their big screen TVs. Well, they had that whole section behind that roped off where nobody could sit there behind the stage. So, and they've done that before too. But I would say it looked kind of full, but you could see empty seats scattered around. You know, I mean, they didn't rope. If they roped everything off, it probably would be. I could tell you more closer to the percentage. I will tell you this though. I've heard a lot of the ones in the XJW community talking about how the demographics have changed. That it's just, and a good friend of mine feels that way. That's just old people, and that may be in a lot of places, but it's not. It wasn't that way there. It looked just like it was when I was going full strong. I mean, there was people of all ages. A lot of people in their 30s and stuff. A lot of families. A lot, younger ones. And of course, they were people coming from all over. They were coming from New Mexico. They were coming all the way down, 4 hours away down in Odessa. Matter of fact, that's where my daughter's from, and it's from Odessa. I didn't get to see her when I first. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, hey, Rick, I got some information about the Long Beach Convention Center. Nobody knows. Just let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, well, let Randy finish up. Randy, the question I want to ask you, though, is did anyone recognize you at all?
I think they did. Nobody come up and talked to me, but when I first got there, the boy says, Al, I'm not used to it. I said, I see you wearing a hat. I'm glad of that. 'cause at least that or an umbrella. He says, yeah, where I come from, it don't ever rain. I said, where's that at? He said, Odessa. Well, that's where my daughter's from. So when I left, I walked around looking everywhere as I went and find him again. And there's 2 boys from his congregation there too. I say boys, one was 35 and one was 18. They were attendants. So I talked to them and they told me what happened was that particular congregation where my daughter's from was hosting the circuit overseer that particular week. So he invited them to come to his convention that last week. So they were there last week, and they wasn't there. Were the ones where I would have known most of the people wasn't there that week. I did see a couple that I recognized from a distance, but I think they may have seen me. One brother that was an attendant come behind me with his 2-way radio. He stood there a while because I did look kind of out of place because I'm sitting there during the whole session with my binoculars, moving them all around, trying to find my daughter and her family. And the elder in front of me, he looked at me kind of funny with binoculars, and I said, well, brother, older people have more AIDS than anybody else in any other demographic. And he looked at me really strange. Then I said, yeah. They got hearing aids, seeing aids, and then I held up my binoculars, Band-Aids, walking aids.
Well, Randy, the people on here love your accent, and they're saying they miss you on the 6 screens. I'd love to have you come back again.
Okay, well that's very kind. I appreciate that. Matter of fact, I've had somebody talking about nice to me on several of them on YouTube and saying the same thing, and so. I think I may do it. I just may not be critical, just so that against the Watchtower, I'll report the truth and the stuff I see, But I'm not going to be, doing anything that might antagonize my daughter to keep her.
Yeah,
from
well,
me.
I know the position you're in, but the red carpet's always outfield. Thank you, Randy.
Well, thank you so much, Rick. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Always good to talk to you. Okay, we get the other brother wants to come on. Tell us about the convention. Go ahead. Is that JP?
Yeah, Rick. Hey,
yeah,
Rick. Hey, it's Dr. Richmond in California.
Dr.
I have some information about the I got some information about the Long Beach Convention Center that probably nobody really knows. You might think, oh, it's very expensive. They're paying a lot of money for this. Actually, they have free rent, and I'll tell you how this is. Because years ago, they struck a deal with the convention center that they had the brothers come in and do almost a total refurbishment of the place. They put, they have other big rooms there too, where they have meetings and other events there, not just that arena that you see. So the brothers went in and they put new carpeting, they painted the place over, they put special lighting in. In fact, I remember this one brother, after the meeting one time, he says, well, I got to go tonight over to the convention center because, we're working there all week doing things. So they had the brothers down there doing this free labor to spruce up the convention center and turn it into this big, nice new place and stuff, and do whatever they can. So they have a deal where they have 10 years or more free rent. So they're not paying a penny for that place to rent out. So I just thought I'd throw that out there, so that the brothers. In fact, I think the brothers donated the materials too, the materials and the labor. And they went there, worked at night many times, like I said, new carpeting, painting the place, and special lighting. So when you go down the escalator, you see all this special purple lighting, whatever it is. So all these improvements were done at on the dime of the brothers and sisters. And Watchtower didn't pay for it. And now Watchtower has free rent. That's why they have the convention over there in Long Beach. So it's not costing them any money for this.
Wow, that's something. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. My goodness. Now you're going to be coming on. I'm going to bring you on. I want you to be able to tell your funeral story. Would you like to do it now?
Yeah.
Go ahead, tell your funeral story. We're on this now, because we got about 10 minutes. We got about hold on. We got about hold on. We got about 10 minutes. Well, just hold on. We got about 10 minutes or so before we bring Angela and Dan on. So go ahead. Let's see. Tell us what went on. Tell us first of all about your wife. Let us know how she was, and give us a little rundown on that. Okay?
Yeah. Thanks, Rick. Yeah, it's Dr. Richmond here. Yeah. Okay. I don't know where to start, but okay. My wife had cancer for many years. First, she had colon cancer. She had to have 90% of her colon removed, but she didn't have to wear a bag or anything. And then a year or so later, she had breast cancer, had to have a breast removed. And then she had intrauterine cancer, had to have a hysterectomy. And then she developed some cancerous tumor, and they were going to treat it with radiation, but they wound up doing chemotherapy because the cancer had spread and everything. And she was a faithful witness. I mean, she was awake. I mean, we'd watch all the videos, Jada Be Critical Thinker, Kim and Mikey, and of course your channel and everything, 6 Screens. And, but she loved Jehovah, and she was really into it. And, she was at all the meetings on the Zoom and everything, and always making comments and studying and stuff. But, she was awake. She was, that she knew that, Jesus is our mediator and so on and so forth. But the point I want to make is not one of these bastard elders ever called her and at all. They never called her. They never stopped over during her illness, not once. And they never called her on the phone. I mean, can you imagine that, Rick? It would have been so wonderful if they had called and said, "Oh, sister, here, I'm a spiritual shepherd. Let me read a scripture from the book of Psalms and give you some spiritual comfort." Where the hell are these shepherds? They're worse than the Pharisees. I can't believe it. How cold and callous are these bastards? These bastard elders, not to even call once and give her some spiritual comfort. And she died last October 9th, and I flew her ashes to the Philippines to be buried over there in Davao City. And just the process of getting the paperwork from the Philippine embassy to fly these ashes there was a nightmare. It was, oh my God, I could write a book about it. So, anyways, I just, but I'll tell you, when I was over there for the funeral in Davao City, the elders over there are fantastic. She's got a lot of friends over there, and they're so very nice over there in the Philippines. They're wonderful people, and the brothers and sisters and the elders and everybody, they were fantastic over there. But these elders in their old congregation, God, I just don't know how they can live with themselves. I mean, she was sick for so long, and they never called her once. Now, after she passed away, I got a call from the head honcho over there, the coordinator of the body of elders, and he didn't even offer any condolences. He just said, "Well, I heard from Sister So-and-so that your wife passed away, and I'm just calling to verify if she passed away." He left a voice message. Yeah, I just calling to verify. Not like, "Well, I'm sorry to hear about this, brother, and this and this and that and that." And then I got a call from another elder about a month later, and he says, "Hey, how you doing? Everything." And I said, "Who's this?" And he said, "Well, it's brother so-and-so." And I said, "I'll call you back," because I was still kind of sleeping. So I called him back, and I read him the riot act. I ripped him a new one, several new ones, because because I was so mad that these bastard elders, these cold, callous bastards, wouldn't even make one phone call to my wife and give her some spiritual comfort. They can all rot in effing hell. And that's my story.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a terrible story. Now tell us who you met when they got off at the airport.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, the cart people, at the cart, they were there at the cart, the Jehovah's Witnesses, when they got off there. In fact, they were actually friends of my wife, and they were there at the funeral. Yeah, they were there. And like I said, she had a lot of nice, wonderful friends there, in the Philippines and so on and so forth. But here in California, the elders and stuff, but she did have some sisters. A couple sisters reached out to her, and very nice, sent her cards and everything. And I sent those sisters a video of the funeral. And I said, "Don't show this to anybody else, especially the elders. I said, they don't deserve to see it, because they never called her once during her illness." But that's about it. I don't know.
Well, that is heartless. But no, thank you for coming on. But I have to share this story with you and the audience. My former wife, she died. But anyway, she ended up in the hospital. She had a brain hemorrhage. And so she was in the hospital for 7 days. and they shaved her hair, and she was just terrible. I mean, she came so close to dying. So she wanted to go back to the Kingdom Hall. She was in the hospital 7 days, and she wanted to go back to the Kingdom Hall. So about a week after she got out of the hospital, I says, "You want to go, Inez, to the hall?" She says, "Yeah, I'd love to." So I take her to the Kingdom Hall, and an elder comes up, and he says, "Oh, Inez, it's good to see you. We were going to send you some flowers, but we didn't think you were going to make it." Can you imagine making? Yeah, I'm serious. I mean, talk about heartless. I felt like punching the guy in the nose. You don't say that to someone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's stupid to say something like that? But that shows you how heartless they are.
Yeah, worse than the Pharisees. I mean, you kind of think back in Jesus' day, how the Pharisees treated people and stuff, and now you can kind of understand it. I mean, once you experience how these so-called shepherds, what are they, the crag and a rock or something from the storm, and they're just nothing. They're just there for their title. They're, they walk around like peacocks or something.
Yeah.
Thinking they're, the big people or something, and you gotta like almost worship them and please them, and they're just they're just narcissistic.
Well, their control ends when you walk out of the Kingdom Hall. Well, thank you, Dr. Richmond. Thank you very much. I love the fact that you wanted to come on and share that with us, and condolences for your wife too. And then that's not easy for you, I know, but you just keep moving. That's a tough thing to deal with, but you'll get through it. Just keep moving in the right direction. Thank you. Thank you
so much.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Well, we're going to be very well. I think we got New York coming in 718. Is that you, Shirley? Yes.
Yeah, Rick. They'll talk about unfeeling. I remember back in the day, there was a sister that I remember, I think 70s, late 80s, she died from breast cancer. She went to the congregation that met in the same hall, not my congregation, but the one that met after. Anyway, breast, cancer, whatever body part, is like a long and tedious thing. She actually had, and this is verified, I'll get into it in a minute, but she had some sisters from her congregation visit her in the hall and say, now I know there were 2 or 3 sisters that visited her in the hall and posed this question. I don't know if they were the 2 sisters they wanted to marry her husband, but point blank, they said, who do you want your husband to marry after you have gone on? In the hospital, dying of cancer, they asked this sister, who do you want in the congregation to marry your husband after you have gone?
That is heart. No, that's hitting below the belt. That is heartless.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
I never heard of that before.
That is verified. Yes, yes.
That's terrible, Shirley. Well, thank you for sharing. I always love it when people can, solidify how evil the Watchtower is. It's brutal. Thank you, Shirley.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Well, anyways, I want to clear something up on this video suite. We do have Dallas. He's asking if B'nai B'rith was in the family of the Branch Davidians and the Christadelphians and all of those aberrant, strange groups. Maybe I spoke out of place. I'm not sure about B'nai B'rith. I believe it. I did see it there, but I'm not sure, Dallas. I will find out for you. If you write me at jwworldnews@gmail.com, I know the man that gave the talk in Pennsylvania all about those aberrant religious cults. I'll send it to you. Thank you, Dallas, for asking the question. Well, we're going to bring Angela and Dan Clark on. I'll tell you what, they are really quite the couple. They are moving in the right direction. They are exposing the Watchtower big time, and they're really coming up on the YouTube channels. Many people are watching them, and they all love Dan and Angela. So let's bring Dan and Angela on right now. Add them to the stream. Make sure we can have a good connection. Can you hear me, Dan and Angela?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. How are we coming in?
Well, you're coming in really good. You look great. You look like a couple of movie stars.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, The Watchtower didn't kill me, so we got back with the Lokes of Eaton. My dad and them were like movie stars, I swear. And when they died, they looked terrible. It was sad. So thank you for that, Rick.
Well, you're hanging in there. Now, that convention that you went to, we want to hear about that. I got the video clip up, and I don't know if you wanted to show pictures from it or whatever, but we'll play around with it.
Okay.
But, so we can do whatever you like, but I'll leave it up to you. So I'm going to kind of come out, but I'm here. I'm here watching every move you make. So if you need me, I'm here. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good, Rick.
All right.
Yeah, we just want to say, me and Angela, I was getting some hits during the week, that we should check out this convention, and every year I do that because I want to know what the new false prophecy is. Because, as you know, I watched my dad go through 75. I went through the generation, then I left. But I know they've had the overlapping and several others that I missed. And so I kept getting this hit, go to the assembly, go to the assembly. Now, we didn't go to the whole assembly. We only went to Sunday afternoon after the lunch break. And I just got this hit. It was on Saturday or Sunday morning, Father's Day, if you can believe it. And they're just like, what do you want to do? And I said, I got this crazy notion. And she says, what? I said, go to the assembly, of Jehovah's Witnesses to the district convention. And she goes, are you serious? It's Father's Day. And I said, yeah, why don't we just go see what it is? We could go have dinner later or something.
You want to see what the new prophecy is?
Yeah, I was dying to know what they were going to feed them. Like what were they going to dream up next? It was really something. I really wanted to do that. And so it popped in my head. And so, we went in the closet and I there's something about our closet. I don't know if you have the same problem, but my closet shrinks my clothes. I tried to get in a suit coat. It must have been 20 years ago, but the damn thing fit me like who was that guy, the guy that tried to put on the glove? You know what I'm saying?
No.
Anyway, but long story short, but I got into a suit. We went down there. We went in after, right at break, right?
Yeah, they were in a break, and we got to sit around for about a half an hour before it started. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, and the security was kind of light. We saw some people along the fences, people hanging out outside like normal. Mm-hmm. And then they had a kind of a tent. It kind of felt like, like one of those metal detectors. It looked like, like you were going to go through something like that. But there was two brothers. They kind of looked you over and you waved at them. And of course, I made the mistake of bringing this. Holy shit. I thought this was my safeguard. This gave my ass away. This gave me away. I mean, I said, let's bring the Bible in that my uncle threw at me. My uncle threw this Bible at me at his sister's funeral, which was my mother. And he says, you need to read this, and throws it at me. And anyway, so I kept it, and I thought, well, I'll use it to get into assemblies and stuff. You don't want to go in there with this anymore, guys. You don't want to take a Bible with you.
Nope.
And so we got through, we went through, waved at everybody. And I thought, my thought was I was a little nervous. And I thought maybe, just maybe, there'd be maybe a little facial recognition because I've been on YouTube so much, didn't we? Uh-huh. So there was a little bit of nervousness as we were going through, we're kind of looking down and, like this. But everybody was just doing their own thing. And we went in and we took a seat right away.
You could tell that they were scoping everybody out that was coming in along the fence as you're walking. And then when you get to that tented area and they're looking you over, So I felt a little nervous. I really, really did. I was hoping that, we just looked innocent and we're dressed right. We fit in with everybody, the way we're dressed. And then they didn't say anything. I just smiled and acted like I was relaxed, like I know where I'm going. And they let us in. I couldn't.
Yeah. So we sat
God.
down and it was a freak show. It was like going back 30 years. I mean, people counting and walking up and down the aisles, and, looking and, all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is some crazy thing from the past. But
they all had, most people all had badges right here.
They had badges, and then they had the things like the churches use now with the, I'm important little thing they carry, I'm an attendant or whatever.
And then I had this, heart necklace. I realized later on, like, that would have been a standard like a sword.
That's sad, Angela.
Oh gosh, I didn't
gave us away.
I
know. Guys, get us killed in there.
Yeah, you do the Bible and I do the necklace.
She's got the Bible. I'm surprised you didn't wear a cross or something.
I'm surprised they didn't stop us, honestly, because we have the Bible, we have the necklace, You know, we don't have a name tag. I can't believe they didn't stop us.
This will get you in trouble at the assembly, guys. So this crazy ass elder looked over at me, right? And he looks down, he goes, "Where'd you get that antique?"
Yeah, we sat down, he's behind us.
And I said, "What antique?" He said, "That Bible." And I said, "This Bible?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "It's an antique." He goes, "My God, I haven't opened one of those in 10 years. And he was kind of like joking, you know?
Yeah.
And he said they haven't really used them in the Kingdom Hall for about 10 years. But he said,
5 years or 10
no,
years?
he said 5 years. It's been since he opened one.
Okay.
I mean, is that crazy? They do not use this. They're all connected to AI iPads.
You know, it's so funny. Like in 2020, when COVID hit, Dan and I went to visit one of the Kingdom Halls, like a little before, I guess. And we took our Bible with us. And now that I think about it, they made us sit in the back row, but we had this sword Bible with us. And you know something? Everybody else had tablets mostly. And I didn't even really think about that, but they did.
Yeah. So Angela tells me, you know, "Dan, nobody has a Bible." And I said to her, you know, defensively, right? Jehovah's Witness defensively, you know, I said, "No, everybody here has a Bible.
Yeah.
We use our Bible." And she goes, "Look around." So I looked over the top and I'm like, "These screens are glowing." I don't know if you got a picture of one of those, Rick, where I shot down the aisle and it was like all televisions, man. Like everybody had a laptop with a TV on it.
It was like this big. About
yeah, they were
big.
huge.
Yeah. They were really pretty huge.
And so I shot a video or a picture just down the teal of these C's. They were like a C of televisions. You know, I call them that.
You know,
they're tablets, you know, but they were all glowing like a little TV. But anyway, long story short, what was I going to say about that? So anyway, this elder, he kind of takes a liking to me. And I'm like, "Okay, cool." I said, you know, I left a while ago. As you can tell, right before this, even I think I had a green Bible. In fact, somebody told me on YouTube, they said, "Dan, you should have brought your green Bible." And I said, "Thanks."
The green one was next, apparently. Huh?
No, that's before this.
Oh,
that's before the black
God.
one. There's this one, then
Oh,
a black one, then a green one. I don't know. I think they had purple.
They'd have stopped us on that one.
Yeah.
Sure.
So the guy says, "Bring your green Bible next time." And I said, "Thanks. Okay, I got it. No more Bibles at the convention. Do not bring your Bible." Okay. So anyway, this guy takes a liking to me. He's showing me the tablet and how it works. You hit this and scripture comes up, and then there's 3 different Bible translations. And then of course the governing body you hit this button and the governing body gives an expanded version of bullshit. You know what I mean? This is how we see it. This is how we interpret it. And I'm going, "Oh, okay, cool. Oh, that thing's really a credit. Everybody's using them."
Yeah,
I saw people 80, 90 years oold just typing on this thing. Like I was like, Jesus.
And they had all these videos on one side. And then on the other side, they had the Bible, like the translation. What is it called? New World Translation.
Oh, yeah.
And then they had King James, and then they had, I guess it was
New World
references.
reference Bible. Something.
So you could go. Anyway, that was the one that they used was King James to compare what they believe with King James, right? It was right on their computer screen, and then all the videos that they watch all the time. You know, the newest one first, and it was really interesting.
Yeah.
You know?
So I told this elder, you know, I just wanted to gather information. So I told this elder, I said, "Yeah, I left, you know, back in the late 80s, you know, during the generation prophecy." Yeah, there's one of the pictures. That's kind of the stadium. I want to say this about this picture. There was 3,800 on Saturday, and there was 3,700 on Sunday, 3,400.
34.
And anyway, that's not a lot of people.
Well, they said this town was all messed up.
Yeah,
really,
they said
really
they
bad.
couldn't even hear the convention on Saturday.
Right.
They couldn't even hear anything. The people that sat out here. And here's the thing. What was I going to say about that? So anyway, they got it fixed. But what I was thinking was 3,400 people. You got Boise, Meridian, Nampa, Caldwell, Star, Ontario, Twin Falls.
In Ontario, Ontario, which is Oregon.
It went all the way out. I'm wondering if it was even Pocatello. I mean, this was a lot of people. I mean, this was not a lot of people. I think I could count them on one hand. I mean, the stadium, the way they had it, the upper part was closed off.
Well, not right behind the stage was here, and all behind what they could see, it's filled. But behind them, though, was not filled. It was all behind. There was no people.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
behind
it was a smaller stadium, but, you know, 3,400 people, that's nothing. You know what I mean? You know, I was thinking 20, 30,000. So it was like a drop in the bucket. But the people that were there were just tuned in. They were magnetized to these computer things. So anyway, I got into this discussion with this elder, and I said, you've been in this a long time. I said, I didn't really make it. I didn't really make it through what did I tell him? Through the generation prophecy. There's some picture up there, Rick.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it looks like they had rain that morning, so maybe he's showing
maybe it's an old
they had
parking lot.
rain. I know.
Yeah.
Probably like he's showing nobody's there, right?
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
So I told this elder, I said, I got to ask you. I said, how have you rolled with all the changes? With the generation prophecy and the 1975, the generation. And he goes, what about the 1975 prophecy? And I said, well, a lot of people left then, as you know. He goes, yeah, those were Californians. And I go, whoa. And I said, no, a whole lot of people left. And I said, don't you feel like they were suggesting in the Watchtower with the clocks on the Watchtower, 6,000 years since the world's beginning until, 1975, that it was going to be over? He goes, oh, absolutely not. He was in denial, wasn't he?
Yeah, on everything.
100%. I went down all the prophecies, not all of them, but the ones I was particularly involved
he's
with.
an elder, so he's really lying his ass off.
He was in denial. He was in denial, worse than any alcoholic.
Oh, man.
I got to tell you, an alcoholic's destroying his life. He's killing his kids. He's lost his job, and they say, "Are you?" He says, "Are you a alcoholic?" No, I don't have no problem drinking at all. There's the tablets. Look at these things. I mean,
and see the sea of them. They're all the way down.
All the way down, every row. It was glowing in their faces. I was like, Jesus.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway. So this guy,
there's close up.
Oh yeah, that's the tablet the guy was showing me. He kept doing a tutorial over and over. Here's how it works, and you hit this button.
So Dan would be caught up. He wanted him to be caught up. Those are all the videos they can watch there.
Yeah, it's everything.
Yeah.
So anyway, I hit this guy with the generation prophecy. I hit him with 75. He had an answer for everything that made no damn sense at all.
Yeah,
Zero.
The reason
mindless, brainless, crippled, dependent, Watchtower, brainwashed, I mean, I'm going to call him a psychopath, but he was really just not there. I said, well, I left during the generation prophecy, the 70 or 80 years from 1914 till, the late 80s, when this generation that saw the beginning, right? The nation rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, food shortages, and the great tribulation. All this would happen in one generation. And so I said, what do you think about that? I says, I couldn't roll after that.
He just kept saying, oh, really, Jen? They were just tiny little changes. They weren't big.
He goes, what are you talking about? The generation. He goes, what do you mean? He said, we never changed that prophecy. He said, that's the same damn thing my uncle said. The same thing. And I said, yes, they did. They changed it. It went from generation, 70 or 80 years. We got to throw that out because the anointed are almost dead. We've come to that point of 70 or 80 years. And now we got to, create some more new bullshit and give us a new carrot to feed on. It's almost here. Overlapping generation now. Jehovah's given us new light, right? And so anyway, he was in denial about every one of them.
He just said they were minor little changes they made. It's all.
He said, "Oh, they were so minor, you're hardly noticeable. Nothing's changed at all. The 75, it's all the same.
It's all the same." He said.
And I went, "Well," and then I said, "Well, I gotta ask you about disfellowshipping." I mean, he must have wondered, who's this crazy guy?
Dan was humble. Okay,
I was very humble.
He's being, pretty. I don't know what you'd say right now.
Yeah, I'm crazy.
But he was very humble about it. Because he didn't want to get kicked out.
Yeah, I just said, can I just ask you, you're so open and I'm able to communicate with you. I haven't communicated with a lot of people. I told him I left. I told him I signed my paper. I told him I
wrote a letter, you mean?
I wrote a letter and dissociated myself. Mm-hmm. And I said, I really don't understand the disfellowshipping policies. I said, because here's what I know. Okay, I read the Bible and the prodigal son says, when you return home, other words, let's do it this way. When you turn around, and you start back home, when you turn around, that's all repent means, is turn around. When you come back to the hall, what's with the 2 to 10 year sentence?
Right.
And what did he say?
Oh, we don't do that anymore.
We don't do that. No. What congregation were you in, young man? Where were you at? You must have been in one of those congregations, rogue, that are not keeping up with Jehovah. And there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them that aren't progressive. And you must have been. I'm so sorry that happened to you. And I'm like, oh my God.
Gosh.
And so I said, because it just makes sense to me. If a man turns around, If he steps into the damn hall, he's not going that way. He's coming this way. And he is forgiven, and he should be brought back into the fold. He goes, absolutely, 100%. In fact, now this guy's lying on his ass. He says, in fact, I could guarantee you'd be back in 2 to 3 months. I said, 2 to 3 months? Well, you don't know me, right?
Yeah, now at that point, I don't know that Dan had told that I wrote the letter yet. But did you?
Yeah.
Okay. So that doesn't make sense.
Well,
at
he said
all.
there was another sister who left, and she had been out for 20 years. And he said,
That's
man,
true.
2 to 3 months. He said, she's back. She's pioneering. She's commenting. Yep. He says, I don't know where you've been. You've been somewhere. And all I could think of was all the nightmare stories and people being disfellowshipped and thrown out.
Know, I do know that they've made some changes. At least I've heard that they have that are making it a little bit easier for people to come back because they're trying to get everybody in right now. Right, Dan?
Yep.
So, but we still hear buttloads of stories all the time, you guys, that people being treated horribly every day on the internet. Horrible things.
I just had a guy call me the other day, a friend of mine, and he was going to go to his daughter's wedding. And the elder said, no, he can't come.
Yeah.
She cut his ass off from his own wedding. This shit still happens.
Oh, man.
The guy's full of
every
it.
Every day. I heard one too, a lady wanting to, be involved in her 96-year-old grandfather's, he's dying and whatnot. And mother calls and says, no, and I don't love you. And I've never loved you. And all this kind of horribleness. The lady was just like broken. And then another one about her father died, and they're not letting her be involved in anything whatsoever. They don't want to talk to her. The dad said he didn't want her to be involved when he died in anything. And, it's like, what's changed? I'm sorry, but how is he just died. And so, but he made it clear, keep her out. It's like, I don't know, but I don't see anything changed. Even though they're saying that they're making it easier to come back. I don't buy it.
No.
I don't.
And I even asked him about the deal. And that was very interesting. He goes, oh, absolutely. 100%. Absolutely. In fact, the only people who passed were the people who passed on it. They didn't do it. In fact, I knew a sister that, a brother, he said, no. And, I don't know if she died or he died, but he was very offended. How dare anybody not, go down that road, which we won't talk about here.
Right.
But anyway, I got to tell you, there was a theme in there. There was a theme that went on and on. It says, wait, and this was gross. This grossed me out, the way it was said. It says, wait on Jehovah till he shows us favor. It was like entitlement. Did you catch that?
I didn't.
Yeah, it says we got to wait on Jehovah till he shows us favor, as if Jehovah owns him.
Until he provides the promises that were promised.
Yeah,
that's what I kept hearing him say.
It said that too, that provides the promises that he promised us.
Right,
and I was like,
that's
whoa,
Yep.
holy shit.
Which is the paradise.
These people are like, you owe us, And then the other one said this. It was let's see what.
Yeah, it was very entitlement.
Oh, it says Jehovah is not late, but is right on time.
Yes.
Jehovah is not late. This was reoccurring
reaffirmed that
through the drama. Jehovah's not late. He's right on time. And so they were branding this into the people.
Yes, they were, because, obviously, they're probably getting a lot of people leaving right now for various reasons. And for that, they wanted to make sure that it's like, you guys, we need to be patient. That's why the whole conference was about patience and being patient. I forgot the exact wording, but and then this wording about the Jehovah's not late. That scripture that talks about that. And so they're just doing everything they could, well thought out, well planned to keep them from leaving. So hang on.
Yeah. And if I may, I want to give you a perspective. It's mine and Angela's really personal perspective of what the hell is really going on in there. It's big because they have been working. Let me see if I got anything else here I want to say.
Okay.
So I just want to say that the feeding tube is that damn tablet, and then it's governing body, and then maybe we're going to pray to Jehovah, but it's all through the drama. It was the governing body said it's time to leave. The governing body says keep going. The governing body says this. They got lost once. They said a little prayer to Jehovah.
Did we say anything about that they were going on a journey? I don't know that we mentioned that. Yeah, they were showing this big film very long. It was most of the whole 2 hours, really.
Yeah, it was right after. It was part 2.
It was so we went to the very last showing, the very last movie that they were showing of what, and then they wound it up and then they reviewed it, all the different movies that they'd been playing over the weekend. So that was interesting. So that they were going to a camp, and they kept saying that, we're going to a camp. But Dan's mind wanted to they're going to the convention. It just because every single time he's ever been in these conventions or assemblies, they're always going off to the convention in these kind of programs. And so it just was clear to Dan that that's where they were going. But they kept saying, no, we're getting our to-go bags ready. And, everybody's preparing, or, everybody was being grilled for the whole 3 days, being grilled on, do you have your bag ready? And are you preparing well? But this one guy was not preparing, and he didn't want to go. He was acting like nothing's really going on. And so in the end, he was chastised for that.
Yeah, they were asked to leave their home, their belongings, their jobs, their security, their money, everything.
And people were kind of rebelling. They were showing that in the film.
Yeah. Now, the reason I want to say this, that this isn't just about Africa and some apartheid thing, some breakout thing that's going to happen there, and they're getting them ready in Africa.
No.
Because in the closing comments, the guy said, continue, brothers, to do your rehearsal, evacuation training,
emergency
with your to-go bags.
Right.
Why in the hell would they play this whole drama revolving around this African scene if they're not trying to plant thoughts in the people, which are to abandon yourself? And I have the steps of progression which Watchtower is doing so that people will abandon their self, abandon their inner temple.
Right. And then also, too, another thing that that they're going to the camp and not to something else. Number one, first of all, they got to a certain point and 2 cars broke down and they had to hoof it the rest of the way. And it was a pretty long journey. Let me tell you what, there were a lot of problems. And then all of a sudden, while they've been walking a couple of days, probably it seemed like, all of a sudden his station wagon comes with everything they could possibly fit.
The Beverly Hillbillies.
It looked like the Beverly Hillbillies, sure did, like one of those wagons, but it was a station wagon with all their belongings on top, and just like they were loaded to the gills, taking everything they could possibly get to the camp because they know that they're not going back.
But they broke down too, right?
No, that one that was station wagon got through.
And there was another car ahead of them broken down too. And they got out and started walking.
So lots of people are breaking down, but this one car made it all the way through with all their belongings. And then when they got there, everybody's being given an issue, the blankets, the sheets, the, whatever for rations, your tent. Your rations, right, for everybody getting the same thing. Everybody was issued the same thing when you got to the gate. And there was concern whether or not there would be room for everybody. I remember them saying something in the movie about that. But then they showed the sea of tents. I don't know, it seemed like there's 150 of them or something, but that there was just flat land, hardly any kind of bushes. I didn't remember seeing any trees. It was flat, it was barren, it was dry, it was hot. It looked horrible. So it was clearly a camp, and everybody was supposed to be getting ready and being prepared to go to the camp until they said, and then you were to go. And that time came, and they all started going to the camp. And anyway.
And I want to say these cars that broke down, there was a message in there too. Leave your ship behind. Leave your ship behind. Get on foot, right? They were on foot. They could run off the road. Because if they would have been in their car, those terrorists would have got them. That whole Jeep full of people would have shot them to death. They were chasing them with guns. You guys probably saw the video. But the message was they left their cars on the side of the road. They all started walking, and then they were running into the weeds, fleeing into here.
Because somebody's coming in some sort of a small little Toyota truck kind of a thing with all kinds of these military militia kind of guys, and then they were looking for them. And then they go hiding in the bushes real flat, and then they gave up. No, they saw the bottle of water. Somebody dropped a bottle of water, so they know they're somewhere, but they can't find them, so they take off and they leave. And then later on, another one happened, and then he actually snatched one of the people in the team.
Didn't know what happened to him.
They never knew what happened to that
guy. Who
guy.
Cares? We'll see him in the paradise.
Yeah, so so they got there, and I don't know. It was really pretty.
It's interesting, yeah, because the guy that made it back home, his house was burnt.
Oh yeah.
So the society was right. Leave your stuff. It's gonna be gone.
Yeah, let's talk about that guy. The one guy, their team, the one that we were watching in the movie, the one that didn't want to leave in the first place and was just fiddling with his, the wood making stuff as his chair he was making or something.
Yeah, big contract.
So he didn't want to prepare. So he's chastised a little bit, runs into his parents, and he's chastised for not being prepared, but he apologized and all this. Well, but then at some certain point when the father was dying on the trip, he's like, guys, we need to go back. We just need to go back. We need to go back. And everybody's like, no, we're supposed to be going to the camp. We're going to the camp no matter what. We're going to the camp. And the kids are told, if anything happens, just get to the camp. So anyway, in the end, he ends up going back by himself, and because he just couldn't do it anymore. It was very dangerous trek by himself, no car, just walking, no food, no water. I don't even believe he made it, but they show him getting back to home, and he got into that house, and it's burnt to a crisp. And now the building wasn't collapsed, but everything inside was
nothing
torched.
inside. A few magazines.
Yeah,
I wonder if they were Watchtower magazines.
The only thing that was left was the only thing that was left was a Watchtower magazine, and the top was burnt. First few pages burnt, and then he flipped and finally got to one of the
And the thought was, I should have listened to Jehovah and followed them, because at the same time they're showing the guy arriving home with nothing but burnt and ashes.
Right, so he shouldn't have gone home.
They were playing, kind of like a Lion King movie about the guy finding his kids that he told to pray and keep going until they got to the camp. Right. So they were all happily and living happily ever after. And of course, the Watchtower is famous for showing the guy who left and died, or several people who veered away.
Yep.
But this guy didn't die. He didn't have nothing left. But what was interesting was at the very end, the little boy said this, and think about this, guys. Think about the message this is saying to witnesses.
So one of the boys that was in that group that we were watching in the movie that got to the camp, the dad's sitting with him in a chair next to him, and it's barren everywhere, tents behind him, and he says,
"Yeah, this is an implant."
The boy says,
"The boy said to the father, Father, how long do we have to be here?" Now, this is an encampment.
When are we going to go home?
Now, this isn't about Africa. I'm telling you, this is about what they're planning. Something is going on here.
Yeah.
And he said, we're going to be here as long as Jehovah or the governing body or whoever says we need to be here. Yeah. So they were in nowhere land. Just there was some provisions.
Yeah, he just said, so son, we're just going to be glad that we have a roof over our head. We have food. We're taken care of, and we're safe. And that's all we care about right now until Jehovah tells us what we're to do next. But I want to tell you, I grew up in the Worldwide Church of God, as a lot of you guys know, which was Jehovah's Witness and Jewish added to the whole thing, and little Seventh-day Adventism, but mainly it was Jehovah's Witness. And one of the things, though, that we believe that the Bible, this is what the Worldwide said, that we're going to be taken away in this time of tribulation to a place of safety called Petra. And people say that there is a real place called Petra, and it's very dry and barren. And I thought it was really interesting because there's a lot of worldwiders apparently that went into to be a Jehovah's Witness once they left there. And apparently my girlfriend is like, oh my gosh, this just reminds me of all that so much. And they would have been freaking out right about there, because that would have been Petra for us, a place of safety until God, does what he does. So for you guys, it would be that the paradise is coming, but we're in a place of safety away from all the bad stuff until Jehovah genocides and kills all those people. And then once he does his business and all that's done, we'll find out from Jehovah, and then we'll be able to go and see what's left. But see, here's the weird part. That one house was all burnt. So what's there really to go back to? I mean, I know that you guys are all excited. You're told that, hey, we're going to have occupancy of whatever house you want in here. After everybody's dead, you can have your pick, right? But they're showing this house burnt. Like there's nothing to go back to. It's like, what's there to live for? I mean,
that's what's interesting. That's what blows my mind. That's why I say there's nobody home there with the people. And the reason they're not home is because they don't know what home is. Watchtower has destroyed their inner temple. And so these people, I was thinking about it when it was over. I thought, I don't know if there's 8 million, or 9 million, they make up all those numbers. But I thought 8 million people are going to be ready like that to give up their homes, give up their livelihoods, give up their money, give up their family, give up whatever just to go flee. I mean, they were all bawling. they were all bawling, weren't they?
Yeah.
During this drama, they're like, "Oh, Jehovah's made provisions," and I'm like, "Whoa!" To run off in the middle of the wilderness and leave all your belongings and everything.
And the message is clear. Don't bother coming back because there won't be anything to come
Yeah.
back to. So what's to keep them from, so they brainwash you to believe that wherever they make you go to, wherever they order you to go to, because they kept saying in the assembly that where you're going to be asked to do things that, maybe are not comfortable, that you don't want to do, but we're telling you, you just need to obey.
Rick said that earlier.
Yeah. And so, so they're reinforcing that. And then they're telling them, hey, there's no house to go back to. Once we tell you to go to the place of safety, to this camp. And he kept calling it a camp over and over again.
Let me say something.
Okay.
I kept thinking it was the old drama where they were going to a meeting.
Right.
And they were showing the Africans. I thought they were going to actually show them swimming across the river, fighting snakes, killing lions, to get to the meeting. And so all the way through, I kept saying, well, Angela, they're going to a meeting. They're going to a convention. And Angela kept saying, no, they're going to a camp.
They said that from the very beginning.
But my mind was geared, and I wonder how many
Yes.
witnesses are thinking.
Hey, Dan and Angela, I just want to pop in here for a second. I'm going to give you about another minute or so. I'm so interested in what you're saying. We do have a guest coming on tonight
Okay.
at 9 o'clock. Deborah Hines, you got the story to tell, but I wish I could keep you on longer. So
That's okay, Rick.
Can I do 2 minutes and finish up, Rick?
Yeah, take 2 minutes and finish up. But I'm so fascinated with what you're saying. So keep going. Yep.
Okay. I want to just say this in closing. I want to say this to the witnesses who are in the organization. Remember, it's just a damn movie that 8 men put together, or whoever put the thing together. It was put together through the pandemic, they said. And I want to say this. Everybody has an inner GPS. Everybody, it's God-given. It's the kingdom of God within you. It's your heart, it's your mind, it's your intuition. It's your life support faculty for navigating this earth. We have a direct connection. And I want to say this. The Watchtower has attacked your heart connection most of my life while I was in there. Disown your family, especially baptized people. They are dead to you. Disown your damn children. If they disobey, kick them out, put them in a thing. The last attack on your heartstring and detaching you from your heart, Stephen Lett says babies are an enemy of Jehovah until proven otherwise. Detach from your damn children, detach from your animals, and damn sure detach from those apostates. They're dead, and we're glad they're dead. And then the next attack. Here's the next attack. I just got a couple more, Rick. The next attack is to disconnect from your mind and your intuition. The drama said all through the drama, don't think, go. Jehovah's on the move. Go, 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 go,
Obey,
go.
obey.
Don't think, don't go back. No, go. Jehovah said, govern.
And what's to keep them from taking your property, right? I mean, there's nothing to go back to, right?
Yes.
Just saying.
Yes. So there's attack on our hearts to destroy our inner temple. There's an attack on our mind. There's one more thing. Okay. It says, let's see. Oh, and now it's detached from your belongings, from your job, from your money. That was a reoccurring.
Yes.
Leave your damn job. It ain't nothing.
That was the message.
Leave your money, leave your home. Just leave, just go, flee.
That's right.
And so then step 4, I thought was interesting, is remain neutral. Remaining neutral to me means remaining passive. Now, this globalist agenda is all over Watchtower. They're not separated from the global agenda. I could talk more, but I don't want to get any more in trouble on this YouTube channel. But the globalist hands are all over them with the shutdown, with the thing. I mean, it's all over them. So I just want to say there is a progressive attack, a deterioration of men and women's inner temple. Detach from your children, detach from your apostates, detach from your pets, detach from this.
Your
Pets
things,
can't
your
love
belongings.
you, your things, your belongings. Guys, they're cutting you off from your life support. God gave me my damn heart. God gave me my mind. God gave me my intuition. And God gave me a direct connection so I could navigate through this world with them. That's it, Rick.
Thank you for listening, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. We always enjoy coming on.
Well, thank you very much. I apologize for the listeners. There's been a lot of people wanting to call in and talk to you.
Rick.
No, you
Thank you.
get the message across, and
Thank you.
we're going to move on to the next program. Thank you very much, Angela and
Yes,
Dan Clark. We certainly love those guys. They're doing a great job. Well, we're getting ready to bring on a new program here tonight. And we got Barbara Anderson. In fact, it's called Watchtower Insider Tells All. You don't want to go anywhere, folks. This is going to be a wonderful program, and we're going to learn so much tonight. We have a woman coming on. Her name is Deborah Hines, and she suffered extreme child sex abuse as a young girl in the Watchtower. This abuse took place at the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses in Brooklyn, New York. Deborah recently settled a lawsuit with the Watchtower organization accusing them of covering up abuse. Deborah's story got lots of attention as high officials of the Watchtower, and including at least one governing body member who knew she was being abused and did nothing. Deborah's coming on next, right here on the Six Screens Telenetwork. So stay with us, and you don't want to go anywhere. So we're going to end this broadcast, but come right back, and we will be bringing Deborah and Barbara on our YouTube channel. Stay with us. I'm going to move to the next studio now.